imagine you are all for what the Venture Capital Association is doing here to fight against Trump on this. Do you believe that this is going to be rolled back permanently?
I honestly don't know. I think I could only speculate. I hope not.
Right, but you joined with the venture capital group. Have you had discussions with them? Have they recruited you to talk about trying to get you involved in this?
Yeah, I mean, as I've joined that, and it's something we're trying to do, and I think I want to be optimistic that we're going to get through this. I think it's important to our industry and technology in the country.
Okay, tell us, there's been many tech entrepreneurs, including Reid Hoffman and others, who've been funding startups to try to fight against some of the policies coming out from Washington. What are you doing, Sam? I know you've detailed many initiatives yourself, and fighting poverty is a true passion of yours. But what have you been doing in terms of where you're putting your money right now, and how you want to make change with where you're putting your funds?
Well, I think by far the best thing I can do is try to help startups with funding or advice or networks or anything else that kind of create a better world for everybody. I think many of the startups that we funded try to do that. I think startups are a great way to create new technology, economic growth, sort of just a better world. And we really want to fund a lot of that. And I think that's more important than ever. And we need to do that in areas that we may have traditionally relied on the government for. The other thing I'm doing as a sort of passion project is trying to help find and fund new candidates. I think we need to have a lot more voices in the governing system, and we need to have a very wide net in terms of who we have in our participatory democracy represent us.
Right,
so those are really the two things I'm trying to do.
Okay,
fund more companies that I think. Oh, go ahead.
Well, let's take that second part first, though, Sam. When you say fund people in politics who share the same passion as you and the same motives as well, who are you talking about, Sam?
Sorry, was the question? It's a little loud here. Was the question who?
Yeah, the question is who. What are the candidates? Who are the candidates that you're funding?
Sure. Well, we don't have specific people in mind, and even if we did, they wouldn't be people we've heard of. One of the things we specifically believe is that it's really important to develop a bench of new people who want to really get into politics and make this their calling, but don't have the resources they need and can't get attention in the current political system, which is dominated by whatever sort of the local party power structures are. So what we want to do, which is much the same that we do at Y Combinator for startups, is identify talent that the rest of the world is missing and help give those people resources.
And is this nationally, Sam?
We're starting just in California next year as sort of a beta test, if you will. But if we can make that work, it is something that I think would be great to expand nationally. But I always think it's really good to start these projects small and learn as much as you can.
Sam, what about your own political aspirations? Where do you see yourself, playing perhaps a personal and individual role in that? Will you run for governor at some point?
I am so happy in my current job. I think, I wish that life were unlimited and people could do a lot of things, but I think I can have an important impact on where I am right now, and I really love doing it. But I would like to support a lot of other people doing it.
Yeah, because it has really been interesting, hasn't it, with the Trump administration, the lead up and the formulation of his White House. You have seen, the influence of tech individuals, of people across business, and, the corporate realm really become more political. Do you think this is a positive thing?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit reaching, but one thing that I'd say that I think is really good about the current political climate is that it has gotten a lot of people to be active and involved and participate and be aware and pay attention. And I think we as a participatory democracy depend on that happening, or republic depend on that happening. And so I am happy to see the increased level of engagement, although I wish we had gotten here another way.
Sam, I want to talk about these comments, that we heard from Elon Musk about how geopolitics is not the threat, but that technology, that AI is potentially a bigger risk to humanity. You've come out and said that really powerful technology is always good and bad. What do you see as biggest risks and also the biggest opportunities that aren't actually being capitalized on at the moment?
Well, I mean, the one that I am also most interested in is AI, and I'm spending more and more of my time working on that. I think we are already seeing AI transform our world in incredibly powerful ways, and the rate of improvement, the speed at which we are developing new capabilities is a very steep exponential curve, and you see it in hardware, in algorithms, and in people entering the field. And so I think we are still in the very early innings of something that is getting more powerful month by month by month. And one thing I've learned is that my time estimates of when certain AI milestones are going to happen, I have always been too pessimistic. And so I'm willing to believe that change is going to continue to happen very rapidly. And I think this is great in a lot of ways, but I also think it's something to think of. The downsides are something to think about really seriously, and we should do everything we can to make sure we get the good future, not the bad one.
Right, and I think, Sam, what I'm hearing from you is, projects like and initiatives like basic income might even need to be put further or even higher up in the priority list as AI, develops more quickly than even you imagine. So tell me how your basic income project in Oakland, California, how is that doing?
Sure. We are still in the pilot phase. We've expanded it to a number of people in Oakland. I think we're coming up on 1 year into that, and we're then going to do a review of what worked, what didn't work. If it worked well enough, we'll expand it to a full scale. The thing we want to be really careful of is there are all the, we don't want to have anyone lose their housing assistance or food assistance or anything else. And so we just want to make really sure that we're working with local, state, federal regulatory agencies to run it without any hiccups, and then we'll expand it.
And Sam, what if in the findings you find that actually basic income doesn't work? What if it becomes a demotivator for people? Then what are the alternatives?
Look, that's totally possible. We mean this as an honest experiment. I think it's an idea that's intriguing. I think eliminating poverty is a really good thing to do. But I certainly would never say that I have a really high conviction this is going to work. And if it doesn't, then I think we need to try other things. The world is changing so fast and in such fundamental ways that I think this is a really good time to test a lot of ideas, so that when all of a sudden we find ourselves in a super different world, we have some data. I always think it's better to make decisions with data when you can, and we have some options, rather than just saying, we're going to pick our best guess on this super important thing.
Right.
And the more time I spend on OpenAI, the more I think we should be thinking more about all of the different possible futures in terms of how we get meaning and fulfillment and what work looks like, and how we have a fair economy and everything else.